There's got to be something we can do with this thing.
What?
This old Mac Classic.
Well, I'm done editing. What do you need?
I got it. Let's turn this thing into a working PC.
Alright, Rich. What is your plan for this thing? Because I am kind of curious, because it's not in that great a shape.
No, it's not. So I bought this machine, this Mac Classic, a little over 2 years ago. And I had these great dreams of restoring it back to its former glory. And as I started tearing it apart, I found that the CMOS battery had leaked over years of use and had eaten through most of the traces in that area of the mainboard, making it basically a big heavy paperweight. And it's been sitting in my garage ever since, so I wanted to do something with it, and I figured we should turn it back into a working PC.
Yeah.
Sound like a good idea?
That'd be awesome.
Let's do it. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is tear this Mac apart again. And I say again because this isn't the first time I've had it open. In fact, this is at least the second time or more. Remember, I talked about how I was planning to refurbish this Mac until I opened it up and found all the damage to the mainboard. So let's get to that now. The plan here is to keep this Mac a true Mac, and the only way to do that is to put a real Mac inside. So we're going to use this Mac Mini circa 2010 and this 10-inch LCD display that we bought off Amazon. And the plan here is to retrofit both of these into the Mac Classic case so that we have a functioning computer again. So let's get busy tearing this monitor apart. The inside bezel of the Mac Classic has a really nice curve to it, and that's meant to mate up perfectly with this old CRT that was once inside. However, our LCD display is flat because, well, most LCD displays are, so we need to design an adapter to go from that curved interface to the flat interface of the LCD, where we'll have a really noticeable gap when we put the LCD display in there. So let's open Tinkercad and let's design a bezel adapter that we can print out then on my 3D printer, and then we'll install on the Mac. So basically what we've done for our design is to take two arches, elongate them to the necessary lengths, and then raise them to match the arc of the inside bezel of the Mac. And now let's throw it in a 3D printer and print it up real quick and get it on there. Okay, so here is the inside of the Mac, and here is the 3D print that I created, and it's got a nice curve that should match the curve of inside of here. So I'm going to go ahead and free it from the base that I printed out with it, and we'll toss this out of the way, and then this guy's going to go right here just like that, and we are going to epoxy it in there so we have a nice straight flat side to put the LCD on. Now it's time to get the display onto our new Mac. And I didn't know exactly how to do this mounting, but these clips came with the display in the beginning, and I just drilled out the ends so that I could use the locations here, like so, to attach it. So that's what we're going to try to do. So here's the display. So we'll set her in here, like so. So now I flip it around, let's see. Got our Mac display, and it's in there. So we'll do a test real quick, we'll fire it up and see what it looks like. So you're probably wondering what I'm planning to do with that open slot on the front of the bezel now that there's no floppy drive behind it. And coincidentally, the controller board for the monitor that we bought fits there perfectly and will allow me to turn the display on or off, change inputs, color settings, and all that stuff. So I'm going to get to epoxying this thing in there. So now we have the monitor in the bezel, and I have it temporarily connected up to the I/O board or the controller board that comes with the display. So now the thing to do is to power it on and make sure the display lights up. So here goes nothing. Looks like it's working. That is awesome. I am super pleased. If you remember when I was tearing the Mac Classic apart, there was this big metal structure that was attached to the inside bezel. And that structure is what held the power supply and the CRT, the hard drive, floppy drive, and once the main board when it was in there. And that's the thing I'm going to attach the Mac Mini to. However, there really is no simple way to do that. The Mac Mini was never designed, vice versa, to hold or be on that thing. And so my plan is, and this might be the downfall of this whole thing, is to epoxy the Mac Mini to that metal structure. So let's get to it. The plan here is to take the Mac Mini and essentially put it in like this so that the ports stick out the back of the Mac and we can access the ports easily. And this right here is a lot of surface area for me to put epoxy, and that's what I'm going to do to hold the Mac in place. And here are the results of epoxying the Mac Mini inside of this frame. You can see there's a lot of adhesion, especially around the edges here and up here. It looks pretty good, and it's solid. It's not going anywhere. So I think this was probably gonna work out okay. Only time will tell, but see, the ports are right there. Looks good. Let's move on. Now it's time to measure out and cut our hole in the back of our Mac Classic. I would be lying to you if I said I wasn't a little terrified here, because it's hard to get the true dimensions once I put everything in there. Can't see really well, and I only really have one chance of this. So let's get to it. Mac Classic I/O shield, circa 1990. Woo! All right, now it's time for a test fit. Let's see how this thing looks. There she is. Now it's time to permanently attach the controller board for the LCD to the inside of this chassis. And to do that, I have designed and printed a couple of standoffs on my 3D printer and attached them to this controller board, and those will be the things that I'm going to epoxy to the inside here. That way, if I need to remove the controller board, I can just unscrew it and bring it off, and the standoffs will stay in position. So let's get to gluing again. Okay, that's all there is to it. Now we just have to wait for the epoxy to cure, and then I will start to button up the rest of this, and we are getting close to being done. The last thing we need to do before we can turn this thing on is plug in the HDMI pass-through and the power for the LCD display, and we can close her up. Let's do it now. There's one more thing I wanted to add here, and that is I wanted this Mac to be more retro than just being a modern Mac inside of an old Mac box. And the internet was there to rescue me. There's a whole community of people who have been working on emulators to run classic macOS on modern operating systems. And with the power of this tool called Sheep Shaver, I was able to actually run an emulation of a classic macOS and play all the old classic Mac games and boot up a classic macOS, and it was just super cool, and I was so proud of that. It really brought the whole project together. Okay, John, it's the time of the video where we talk about the results of whatever we're working on. In this case, this Frankenstein Mac Classic to Mac Mini conversion that you're holding there. I gotta know what you think of the results.
All right, I just gotta point out to everyone, this was Rich's baby. He put this whole project together, and I am really impressed.
You like it?
It is amazing.
It was a lot of fun and a lot of work, and really, with all the space inside when you pull out all the guts, it was easy to find plenty of room.
Yeah, it is. Like way lighter now, way lighter. I picked this up and almost like hurled it across the room.
So yeah, that made it easy. It wasn't really tight spaces, but everything kind of came together, and I gotta say, I'm pretty proud of it. So
you should be.
And that's gonna do it for our video today. John and I both hope you really enjoyed watching it. And if you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and also please consider leaving a comment below about all of this stuff that I did. I would love to know what you think. You can hate on me all you want. You can follow John at 2GuysTechJohn, me at 2GuysTechRich, and the channel at 2GuysTech. Thanks for watching.